teacher Shakyamuni Buddha. Namo fundamental teacher Shakyamuni Buddha. Namo fundamental teacher Shakyamuni Buddha. The unsurpassed, profound, and wonderful Dharma is difficult to encounter in hundreds of millions of eons. I now see and hear it, receive and uphold it, and I vow to fathom the Tathagata's true meaning. Flower Adornment Sutra. Wondrous adornments of the rulers of the woods. Chapter 1, Part 2. At that time, the oceanic multitudes at the Bodhimanda of the Thus Come One had all gathered like clouds. Beings of boundless types and species surrounded and filled the Bodhimanda, each unique in form and retinue. From every direction they followed and drew near the Wardana One to admire him with one heart. Already this congregation had abandoned the various afflictions, mental impurities, and their residual habits. Having smashed a mountain of heavy obstacles, they saw the Buddha freely. These beings were those whom the Daskaman Varochana, as he cultivated the Bodhisattva conduct throughout oceans of eons, had gathered in using the four methods of gathering beings in various expedient means had been used to skillfully gather in and teach these beings and to bring them to maturity as they planted good roots in the presence of each Buddha,
so that they became securely established on the path to all wisdom.
They had cultivated limitless goodness and reaped multitudes of copious blessings. They had all entered the sea of expedient and vows. Their practices were pure and complete. They skillfully gained transcendence by means of the path of escape. Always they beheld the Buddhas with distinct clarity, with the power of supreme understanding. They thus entered the great ocean of meritorious virtues of the Thus Come Ones. They gained the passages into liberation of all Buddhas and roamed playfully using their spiritual powers. Specifically, Celestial King, ocean of wondrous flames from the heaven of great self-mastery, gained a passage into liberation of using the power of quiescence and experience throughout the Dhamma realm and space. Celestial King, radiant freedom and renown, gained a passage into liberation of universally contemplating all Dhammas with complete ease. Celestial King, eyes of pure merit and virtue, gained a passage into liberation of knowing through effortless practice that all Dhammas do not come into being or cease to be, and neither come nor go. The Celestial King, delightful great wisdom, gained a passage into liberation of using oceanic wisdom in beholding the character of reality in all Dhammas in the present moment. Celestial King, comfortable, unmoving light, gained a passage into liberation that allowed him to enter the samadhi of great experience and thereby bestow boundless peace and joy upon sentient beings. Celestial King, magnificent eyes, gained a passage into liberation of enabling beings to observe quiescent dharmas so as to dispel their dark delusion and terror. Celestial King, brilliance derived from wholesome reflection, gained a passage into liberation of pondering all of existence by proficiently entering infinite realms without creating any karma. Celestial King, delightful great knowledge, gained a passage into liberation of traveling everywhere throughout the 10 directions to speak Dharma, while neither moving nor relying on anything. Celestial King, all-pervasive voice resembling a glorious banner, gained a passage into liberation of entering the Buddha's tranquil state and universally displaying bright light. Celestial King, brilliant renown derived from wholesome vigor, gained a passage into liberation of abiding in his own enlightenment while embracing the conditions of great, vast, and boundless states. At that time, Celestial King, ocean of wondrous flames, received the Buddha's awesome spiritual power, universally contemplated the multitudes of the heavens of great self-mastery, and spoke the following verse: The Buddha's body pervades all great assemblies everywhere, filling the infinite reaches of the Dharma realm, still and quiet, ungraspable, devoid of nature. He yet appears in order to save the world. The thus come one King of Dharma appears among us, lighting up the world with the lantern of wondrous Dharma.
Boundless and infinite are the states that emerge, thus in
The realization of freedom and renown. How inconceivable the Buddha is, he defies description. He realizes that no form actually exists in the 10 directions. For those in the world, he extensively reveals paths to purity. Pure eyes is able to observe thus. The thus come one's wisdom is without bounds. No one in the world could possibly fathom it. He dispels sentient beings' dark delusions forever. Great wisdom enters this and abides in profound peace. The thus come one's meritorious virtues are inconceivable. When sentient beings see him, their afflictions cease. He enables everyone in the world to experience peace and joy. The God, comfortable, unmoving light observes thus. Beings are constantly occluded by darkness and delusion. The thus come one tells them about the method for gaining tranquility, describing it as a lamp of wisdom that shines on the world. Wondrous eyes understands this skillful means. The thus come one's pure, wonderful physical body universally manifests in the 10 directions, defying comparison. This body has no nature or place of reliance. The God wholesome reflection observes thus. The thus come one's voice transcends bounds and impediments. No one who is ready to be taught will fail to hear it, and yet the Buddha remains still, forever unmoving. The God delightful knowledge is liberated thus. The Lord of humans and gods, one of still and quiet liberation, appears everywhere throughout the 10 directions. His dazzling light fills the world. Glorious banner of unimpeded Dharma thus perceives. Throughout boundless seas of great eons, the Buddha sought Bodhi in order to help sentient beings. With myriad spiritual powers, he transforms all. The God brilliant renown awakens to this Dharma. Moreover, Celestial King, bright banner of the light in the Dharma, gained the passage into liberation of comprehensively observing the faculties of all sentient beings, so as to speak Dharma for them and dissolve their doubts. Celestial King, ocean of pure endowments, gained the passage into liberation of enabling all sentient beings to see the Buddha upon recollecting him.
Celestial King, supreme wisdom, light, gain of passage into liberation of the body, being adorned with the Dharma, nature of equality and independence.
Celestial King, banner of carefree wisdom, gained the passage into liberation of comprehending all mundane dharmas and creating inconceivable oceans of adornments within a single thought. Celestial King, the light in still quiet sense, gained the passage into liberation of inclusively and compatibly manifesting inconceivably many Buddha lands in a single pour. Celestial King, universal wisdom, I gained a passage into liberation, whereby he entered an aspect of universality that allowed him to contemplate the Dharma realm. Celestial King, the light in revolving wisdom, gained a passage into liberation of constantly appearing before sentient beings in various manifestations throughout boundless eons. Celestial King, adept at nurturing wisdom light, gained a passage into liberation of contemplating all mundane states and entering the inconceivable Dharma. Celestial King, immaculately still and serene light, gained the passage into liberation of revealing to all sentient beings the essential Dharma of transcendence. Celestial King, vast, pure brightness, gained the passage into liberation of observing all sentient beings who are ready to be transformed and leading them to enter the Buddha Dharma. At that time, Celestial King, bright banner of the light in the Dharma, received the Buddha's awesome spiritual power, universally contemplated the multitudes of the heavens of lesser vastness, the heavens of limitless vastness, and the heavens of vast fruition, and spoke the following verse: This state of the Buddha is inconceivable, unfathomable by any ordinary beings. He pervasively inspires faith and understanding. His profuse and joyous aspirations are unending. If sentient beings are able to accept the Dharma, the Buddha's awesome spiritual strength will guide them, letting them constantly behold the Buddhas before them. Celestial King, ocean of adornments, thus perceives the nature of all dharmas is without reliance. The Buddha's appearances in the world are like that too. They go to all realms of existence and yet rely on nothing. Supreme wisdom contemplates this meaning.
Whatever sentient beings' hearts desire can be realized by the Buddha's spiritual might, despite how incredibly different individuals are. This is the sea of liberation of King Banner of Wisdom.
All lands that ever existed in the past appear within a single pore on a person's body. This is due to the great spiritual powers of all Buddhas. The light in still quiets and proclaims thus: the inexhaustible sea of all Dharma doors comes together as a single Dharma in the way place. This is the Dharma nature of which the Buddha speaks. Wisdom, I understands this expedient device. He abides in every land of the 10 directions and speaks Dharma in each of them. Yet physically the Buddha neither comes nor goes. Thus is the state of delight in revolving wisdom. The Buddha contemplates worldly dharmas as reflections and enters into their profoundly mysterious aspects. He speaks of the eternally still nature of all dharmas, adept at nurturing, considers and perceives thus. The Buddha is proficient in understanding every state. According to sentient beings' faculties, he lets fall a rain of Dharma. He shows them the inconceivable essential door of transcendence. The God, still and serene, enlightens and enters thus. With great kindness and compassion, the world honor one appears among us so as to benefit sentient beings. He evenly sprinkles the rain of Dharma to fill each vessel. The God pure brightness proclaims thus: Moreover, the celestial King, pure wisdom's renown, gained the passage into liberation of comprehending the skillful means of the path that leads to the emancipation of all sentient beings. Celestial King, supreme views, gained the passage into liberation of universally manifesting like light and shadows in a way that delights all the celestial multitudes. Celestial King, serene virtue, gained a passage into liberation of employing the great expedient that universally adorns and purifies the states of all Buddhas. Celestial King Sumeru Sound gained a passage into liberation of helping out sentient beings who keep drifting forever upon the ocean of birth and death. Celestial King Eye of pure mindfulness gained a passage into liberation of recollecting the thus come one, and thereby being able to regulate and subdue the activities of sentient beings. Celestial King, delightful universal illumination, gained a passage into liberation of flowing forth from the universal doors, ocean of Dharanis. Celestial King, sovereign world ruler, gained a passage into liberation of enabling sentient beings to meet the Buddha and bring forth a treasury of faith. Celestial King, comfortable blazing light, gained a passage into liberation of enabling all sentient beings to become joyously faithful upon hearing the Dharma, hence gaining transcendence. Celestial King, joyful contemplation of the transformations of Dharmas, gained a passage into liberation of entry into all Bodhisattvas' taming practices, which are as boundless and infinite as space. Celestial King, transformation banner, gained a passage into liberation of using universal compassion and wisdom to contemplate the countless afflictions of sentient beings. Celestial King, wondrous adornments of the sounds of constellations, gained a passage into liberation of emitting light and manifesting the Buddha's three wheels to gather in and transform beings.
At that time, the celestial King, pure wisdom's renown, received the Buddha's awesome spiritual power, universally contemplated the multitudes of the heavens of lesser purity, the heavens of limitless purity, and the heavens of pervasive purity, and spoke the following verse.
The one who understands that the nature of dharmas is unobstructed appears everywhere in countless lands of the 10 directions. He explains the inconceivable realm of the Buddhas, bringing all beings back to the ocean of liberation. The thus come one abides independently in the world, like a reflection of light manifesting in many countries. Dharmas ultimately do not come into being. King Supreme Views enters this passage. For countless oceans of eons, he has cultivated skillful means that have purified lands everywhere in the 10 directions. The Dharma realm abides in thusness, forever unmoving. The God's serene virtue awakened thus. Sentient beings, occluded by delusion, blindly remain in the throes of birth and death. The thus come one shows them the path to purity. Sumeru's sound is emancipated thus. The unsurpassed path tread by all Buddhas cannot be fathomed by any sentient being. They are shown various kinds of expedient doors. Pure eye understands this through careful observation. The thus come one constantly uses methods of uniting and upholding, profuse as dust motes in oceans of lands, to instruct and teach sentient beings everywhere. Celestial King Universal Illumination enters thus. And thus one's advent in the world is not easy to meet with. It may happen only once in an ocean of uncountable eons. Buddhas can inspire faith and understanding in beings. The God Sovereign attains this realization. The Buddha says that the nature of dharmas isn't a nature at all, and yet they are profound, vast, great, and inconceivable. Thus he inspires pure faith in sentient beings everywhere. Celestial King Blazing Light understands this well. Thus commons of the 3 times perfect meritorious virtues. They transform the realms of sentient beings in incredible ways. Reflection upon this brings exultant joy, thus proclaims joy in Dharma. Sentient beings are drowning in an ocean of afflictions. Their delusions and turbid views are alarming indeed. Out of sympathy, the great teacher helps them leave all that forever. King Transformation Banner observes this state. The thus commons light is forever bright. Countless Buddhas appear in each and every ray. One and all they manifest and work at transforming sentient beings. The God Wondrous Sounds enters this passage. Moreover, Celestial King Winsome Light gained the passage into liberation of forever enjoying the bliss of quiescence, and yet being able to descend into the world and eradicate beings' suffering. Celestial King, pure and exquisite light, gained the passage into liberation of using an ocean of responses issuing from the heart of great compassion to bestow a treasury of happiness upon all sentient beings.
Celestial King Comfortable Sound gained a passage into liberation of universally manifesting within a single thought. He the power of blessings and virtue of all sentient beings throughout boundless eons. Celestial King Wisdom of Supreme Intent gained a passage into liberation of universally causing worlds undergoing the process of formation, dulling, and decay to all become pure light space.
Celestial King, pleasing, pure, and wonderful sounds, gained a passage into liberation of joyously and faithfully accepting all sages' dharmas. Celestial King, sound of wholesome reflection, gained a passage into liberation of proclaiming for the duration of eons the meaning of all grounds and skillful means. Celestial King, proclaiming with splendid sound, gained a passage into liberation of expediently making extensive offerings to all bodhisattvas when they descend from the Dashita heaven palace to be born. Celestial King, most profound voice of light, gained a passage into liberation of contemplating the ocean of infinite spiritual powers and wisdom. Celestial King, vast renown, gained a passage into liberation of observing how the fulfillment of oceanic merit and virtue allows Buddhas to appear in the world and employ the power of expedience. Celestial King, Supreme Pure Light, gained a passage into liberation of giving rise to a treasury of profound faith and delight in the powerful past vows of the thus come ones. At that time, celestial King Winsome Light received the Buddha's awesome spiritual power, universally contemplated the multitudes of the heavens of lesser light, the heavens of limitless light, and the heavens of utmost light, and spoke the following verse. I recall the past practices of the thus come one, how he served and made offerings to innumerable Buddhas, relying on the Buddha's awesome strength. I now perceive all the pure karma stemming from his fundamental faith. The Buddha's body, devoid of forms, is free of any defilement. He dwells forever on the ground of compassion and pity, casting out all the woes of the world. This is the liberation of exquisite light. The Buddha Dharma is vast and boundless. The oceans of all lands appear within it. The stages of formation and decay of each are different. Such is the power of liberation of the God Comfortable Sound. The Buddha, with his unequaled spiritual powers, appears everywhere in the vast lands of the 10 directions, causing those lands to manifest eternally adorned and pure. Such is the expedient emancipation of supreme intent. He rendered homage to all thus come ones, numerous as dust motes in oceans or lands. He lost no opportunity to hear the Dharma and leave defilement. The Dharma door of the God Wonderful Sounds functions thus. The Buddha, throughout measureless oceans of great eons, expounded the grounds with peerless skill and means. What he said remains infinite and unending. The God sound of wholesome reflection understands this meaning. The thus common spiritual transformations open infinite doors. In a single thought he can appear in all places. His spirit descended and he realized the way, and acting a great expedient, splendid sound is liberated thus. Sustained by awesome strength, he can discuss and manifest incidents involving the Buddha's spiritual powers. Beings are purified according to their faculties and desires. This is the passage into liberation of the God Voice of Light. The thus come's wisdom is boundless. In the world he is pureless and without attachment. Responding with a kind heart, he appears before all beings. The God vast renown awakens to this truth. In the past, the Buddha practiced in quest of Bodhi, making offerings to all Buddhas in the 10 directions. Before each and every Buddha, he made vows. Upon hearing this, Supreme Light experiences great joy.
Moreover, Brahma King
Shikkin gained a passage
into liberation of universally dwelling in the Bodhi mandas of the 10 directions, speaking Dharma there and being pure and untainted in his actions.
Brahma King Wisdom Light gained a passage into liberation of enabling all sentient beings to enter dhyana and remain in samadhi. Brahma King Light of wholesome reflective wisdom gained a passage into liberation of universally entering all inconceivable dharmas. Brahma King Universal Cloud Sound gained a passage into liberation of entering all Buddha's oceans of sounds. Brahma King, freely contemplating the sounds and speech in the world, gained a passage into liberation of recollecting how the Bodhisattvas teach and transform all sentient beings with experience. Brahma King, still and quiet bright eyes, gained a passage into liberation of manifesting the different aspects of worldly karmic retributions. Brahma King, pervasive light, gained a passage into liberation of appearing before the different categories of sentient beings accordingly, so as to tame and subdue them. Brahma King, transforming sounds, gained a passage into liberation of residing in the purity of all dharmas and the state of quiescent practice. Brahma King, dazzling eyes, gained a passage into liberation of being unattached to anything, boundless, independent, and always manifesting with diligence. Brahma King, pleasing ocean-like sounds, gained a passage into liberation of constantly reflecting upon and contemplating inexhaustible dharmas. At that time, great Brahma King Shikkin received the Buddha's awesome spiritual power, universally contemplating the multitudes of the Brahma heavens, the heavens of Brahma ministers, the heavens of Brahma multitudes, and the great Brahma heavens, and spoke the following verse. The Buddha's body is pure and ever quiescent. His radiance shines on everyone in all worlds, without form, without action, and without any image or reflection. Like a cloud in the sky, perceive him thus. The state of concentration of the Buddha's body, unfathomable by any sentient being, is revealed to them through inconceivable expedient methods. King Wisdom Light enlightens thus. Oceans of Dharma doors, as many as Mozart dust in Buddha lands, can be proclaimed completely in a single sentence, yet oceans of eons would not be time enough to describe them all. Light of wholesome reflective wisdom is liberated thus. The Buddha's perfect voice reaches equally to all in the world. Each being attains insight according to its kind, and yet the sound causes no discriminations. Brahma, King, universal sound, awakens thus. All thus come once in the three periods of time, progress towards Bodhi through expedient practices. Everything culminates with the realization of Buddhahood. The God freedom with sounds is liberated thus. Sentient beings all have their own distinct karma. According to their causes, various results occur. The Buddhas make clear that this is the nature of the world. The God's still and quiet brightness awakens thus. At ease with countless Dharma doors, he tames sentient beings throughout the 10 directions without discriminating among them. Such is the state of pervasive light.
The Buddha's body is as infinite as the void, formless and unobstructed. It pervades the 10 directions. All his manifestations resemble illusions. King transforming sounds enlightens to his path. The thus come one's physical form is boundless, so too are his wisdom and the sound of his voice, abiding in the world and displaying his form. He has no attachment. The celestial king dazzling light enters this passage. The Dharma king settles in the wondrous Dharma palace. The light of his Dharma body shines on all. The Dharma nature is incomparable and devoid of form. This is the liberation of King Ocean-like sounds.
Moreover, celestial king self-mastery gained the passage into liberation of making use of a treasure trove of freedom and ease in appearing before countless sentient beings and bringing them to maturation. Celestial King Lord Good Eyes gained the passage into liberation of contemplating the joys of all sentient beings and then helping them to experience the joy found in the realm of sages. Celestial King Crown, like a banner of wonderful jewels, gained the passage into liberation of rousing sentient beings to action by complying with their various desires and understandings. Celestial King Courageous Wisdom gained a passage into liberation of universally gathering in all sentient beings and explaining principles to them. Celestial King Phrases of Sublime Sounds gained a passage into liberation of advancing in his own practice by reflecting the thus come one's best kindness. Celestial King Banner of Splendid Light gained a passage into liberation of revealing the gate of great compassion that can subjugate the arrogance of sun beings who wear it like a banner. Celestial King Ram of Quiescence gained a passage into liberation of subduing all hatred and malice among beings in the world. Celestial King Banner embellished with wonderful wheels gained a passage into liberation of being able, by remembering countless Buddhas of the 10 directions, to have them come to where he is. Celestial King Flower like Wisdom gained a passage into liberation of universally manifesting the realization of proper enlightenment according to the thoughts of sentient beings. Celestial King Indra's wonderful brightness gained a passage into liberation of entering all worlds by means of great awesome strength and masterful methods. At that time, Celestial King Self-Mastery received the Buddha's awesome spiritual power, universally contemplated the multitudes of the heavens of self-mastery, and spoke the following verse: The Buddha's body is pervasive and equal to the Dharma realm. Universally responding to beings, he appears before them all, offering various ways to enter the teachings as he transforms and guides them so that they will attain ease in the Dharma and reach enlightenment. Among the different joys in the world, the quiescent bliss of the sages is the most supreme, abiding in the profuse vastness of the Dharma nature. Celestial King Wondrous Eyes perceives this. Thus, the Daskaman appears throughout the 10 directions. He speaks Dharma by universally responding to the hearts of the masses. All doubts are vanquished and severed. This is the passage into liberation of wonderful banner-like crown. Buddhas throughout all worlds communicate with wondrous sounds. The Dharma spoken throughout countless eons can be wholly expressed in a single sentence. Courageous wisdom, God is liberated thus. The immense kindness of all those in the world does not measure up to the tiniest fraction of the Daskaman's kindness. Like space, the Buddha's kindness is inexhaustible. This is the achievement of the God's sublime songs. The arrogance of sentient beings, towering as a mountain, is completely vanquished without residue by the 10 powers. This function of the Daskaman's great compassion is the way practiced by the King Banner of splendid light. Pure light of wisdom fills beings in all worlds. Those who see it cast out ignorance and darkness, which enables them to leave all evil paths. Celestial King Quiescence awakens to this Dharma. The light streaming from the Buddha's pores proclaims names of Buddhas, as many as the number of beings. Sentient beings may hear whatever they enjoy hearing. Banner with wonderful wheels is liberated thus. The Daskaman's freedom and ease cannot be measured. It entirely fills space and the Dharma realm. The myriad assemblies behold it clearly. Flower wisdom enters this passage to liberation. Throughout oceans of countless, boundless, great eons, Buddha manifests everywhere in the 10 directions to speak the Dharma, yet no one ever sees them come or go. The God wonderful brightness enlightens to this.
Moreover, celestial kings skilled at transformations gain a passage into liberation of explaining the transformational power of all karma. Celestial King Silent Radiance gain a passage into liberation of renouncing all opportunistic tendencies. Celestial King Illumination of powerful transformations gained a passage into liberation of universally eradicating the dark and deluded thoughts of sentient beings, thus enabling them to perfect their wisdom.
Celestial King Lord of Adornment and gained a passage into liberation of bringing forth boundless delightful sounds. Celestial King Light of Mindfulness gained a passage into liberation of understanding all Buddha's infinite attributes of blessings and virtue. Celestial King Tremendous Thundercloud gained a passage into liberation of universally knowing the formation and decay of all past eons, as well as their sequence. Celestial King Supreme Light gained a passage into liberation of awakening the wisdom of all sentient beings. Celestial King Wonderful Cow gained a passage into liberation of releasing light that quickly fills the 10 directions of space. Celestial King Joyful Wisdom gained a passage into liberation of maintaining a powerful vigor that makes it impossible to destroy his accomplishments. Celestial King Flower Like Cow gained a passage into liberation of knowing the retributions undergone by all sentient beings due to their karma. Celestial King universally viewing the 10 directions gained a passage into liberation of manifesting the different shapes of inconceivably many kinds of sentient beings. At that time, Celestial King skilled at transformations received the Buddha's awesome spiritual power, universally contemplated the multitudes of the heavens of skillful transformation, and spoke the following verse. The nature of karma of those in the world is unthinkable. To the confused multitudes, the Buddha makes a thorough revelation. He skillfully explains the true meaning, underlying causes and conditions, as well as how karma differs with each and every being. They try to visualize the Buddha in many ways, but to no avail. They seek him throughout the 10 directions, but cannot find him. The Dharma body manifests but is not real and actual. Silent sound perceives this Dharma. Throughout oceans of eons, the Buddha cultivated many practices, wishing to destroy the foolish and dark delusions in the world. Therefore, his purity shines most brightly. Powerful illumination is enlightened thus. All the exquisite sounds in the world cannot rival the Daskaman sound. The Buddha fills the 10 directions with a single sound. Lord of adornment enters this liberation. The power of blessings amassed by those in the world cannot match even a single attribute of the Daskaman. The Daskaman's blessings and virtue are identical with space. The God light of mindfulness perceives thus countless eons throughout the 3 periods of time, as well as the different features related to their formation and decay, are completely displayed in a single pore of the Buddha. Tremendous thundercloud knows this state. The volume of space throughout the 10 directions can be known, but the scope of the Buddha's pores cannot be measured. This inconceivable state of non-obstruction is understood by Celestial King Wonderful Cow. Throughout immeasurable eons in worlds long past, the Buddha thoroughly cultivated vast great paramitas, tirelessly practicing with ever-diligent vigor. Joyful wisdom knows this Dharma door. The causes and conditions that result in karma are hard to fathom, yet the Buddha explains them for everyone in the world. The Dharma nature is fundamentally pure and undefiled. This is the place of entry for flower light. You should contemplate a single pore of the Buddha, for all beings are found within it, yet they neither come nor go. King's universally viewing understands thus. Namo Sammanto Modana Apolati Hetocha Janami Nanchimi Chimi Tanthakatana Moa Shanti Bolati Uddamo Damo Tanthakatana Moa Hong Pansoha Namo Sammanto Modana Apolati Hetocha Janami Chimi Chimi Tanthakatana Moa Shanti Bolati Uddamo Damo Tanthakatana Moa Hong Panso Namo Sammanto Modana Apolati Hetocha Janami Chimi Chimi Tanthakatana Moa Shanti Bolati Uddamo Damo Tanthakatana Moa Hong Panso. Praise to the Buddha. In the flower domain oceanic assembly, the Buddha Varochana sits upon floral platform.
In the lotus flower treasury oceans of worlds,
All the Buddhas praise rare indeed. The myriad existing things reflect each other, and darkness is dispelled in an instant. Namo ocean white flower, adornment assembly of Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. Namo ocean white flower, adornment assembly of Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. Namo ocean white flower, adornment assembly of Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. Special dedication. We hereby dedicate the merit and virtue of this practice. May all nations be peaceful, may all people be safe, and may the weather be seasonal with an appropriate amount of rain. May the merit from this practice adorn all the Buddha's lands, repay when this body meets its end, be born together in the land of bliss. Bow in respect to the Venerable Master. Namo 大方广佛华严经，华严海会佛菩萨。